So now, there's the last concept that we are here offer. ये offer. So we were talking about what? We were talking about the accessory glands. So first of all, these parts, functions, पढ़ना है अच्छी तरह से. Now, this major concepts that we had studied, hormone, functions, this part you have to study. Everything is there in the volume, in the textbook. Read. Now, the last part here for the male system is what? The last part here in the male system is this tube, that is the vas deferens, is carrying the sperm and emptying it into the urethra. And now the next concept here is, यहाँ पे देखो, I said in the urethra two types of substances are there. Number one, the male gamete that is being carried by the vas deferens, and now the alkaline secretion produced by the prostate and the seminal vesicles. So the seminal vesicles and the prostate glands, they are producing what? Alkaline secretion. These alkaline secretion are also emptied or poured into the urethra. So in the urethra, ultimately, the alkaline secretion of these two glands and the sperms, they are together. And this is what is known as the semen. What is semen? The semen is the alkaline secretions. If I talk about them, what is semen? The definition, what are you supposed to write is, semen is a mixture of the sperms and the alkaline secretions. Name the two glands which produces the alkaline secretions, the seminal vesicles and the prostate glands. So the semen which is released by the urethra will contain thousands and thousands of the male gametes at a time. Okay? So now that we are talking about the male system, the male gametes will be producing the sperms carried by the vas deferens and delivered into the urethra. These glands will be producing their alkaline secretion and delivered into the urethra. So what is present in the urethra? It's a milky secretion, a mixture of the male gamete and the alkaline secretion by these two glands. So what is this known as? Mixture of the sperms and the alkaline secretion produced by the prostate and seminal vesicles. So what is this mixture known as? This is known as semen. So up iske baad we'll have to again remember some differences between the testes and all these, but later. First of all, now let us compare with the female system. With that, for that, we'll have to remember the parts, functions. We'll have to draw this diagram also of the female reproductive system, and then compare the parts and then to know the functions. So talking about the parts of the female reproductive system, let us come across. What are the parts of the female reproductive system? Same, like the testes are the primary organs, the female system also has a pair of ovaries as the primary organ. A pair of oviducts are there as the tubular structure, quite comparable to the vas deferens. Oviducts. What is the other word for oviduct? The other word for oviduct is the fallopian tubes. The other word for oviducts, fallopian tubes. There is a single uterus, a muscular bag, and a muscular canal known as the vagina. So these are the parts. Now, let us add one more part, that is the cervix and the vagina. Now that we are talking about the parts of the female reproductive system, there is a lot of comparison and a difference when we are talking about the male and the female system. Let us start with the ovaries. The ovaries, the primary organ producing the gametes, producing the hormones. in comparison with the male system. Let us talk about the female reproductive system. What is it? Doubt it?
Neutralizes the acidity.
Neutralizes acidity of the female reproductive tract. And again, talk about this when we learn the female system. All of you will have to draw this diagram. The diagram of the female reproductive system often asked in your exam. फटाफट ड्रॉ करना है, पेंसिल नहीं है। तो ब्रेक के पहले मैंने जब पूछा तो तुम हाँ ही बोला था, बोला था हाँ। करो फास्ट। Yeah, I wait, but I will not wait. Eh? See? धोनी को पता था ये लोग लाने वाले नहीं है, that's why she has extra so many. मारो इसको जोर से. Come in with your body, no scale, no pencil, nothing. Fast, really go. Make it fast. We'll try to finish today. In case not, maybe next Monday, just one class we'll have to take. No wasting time there. See, unnecessarily we get late. We should have finished our portion last week itself. Okay, now the female system, the male and the female parts will have to compare also. Now, the female reproductive system that we are talking about, what are some of the similarities with the male system and some differences also? We talk about the ovaries. Ovaries are in a pair of ovaries that we are talking about. Now, to understand the functions for each of these parts, we have to understand the functions first. Ovaries in a pair, same like the male body. The testes in a pair, we had understood. Ovaries in a pair, we had studied. What are some of the functions? What are some of the features? Ovaries are present inside the abdomen. Ovaries are very much inside the abdomen. Ovaries are inside the abdomen. For the testes, we say testes outside the abdomen, extra abdominal, we will say. Testes outside the abdomen, but if it is the ovaries are very much inside the abdomen. The ovaries are very much inside the abdomen. They are in a pair. What are the functions of the ovary? Functions of the ovary, to remember, the first function is production of the female hormones. Secretion of the female hormones. And which are the female hormones? That is the estrogen and progesterone. The female hormones, estrogen and progesterone. Second function, the development of the female gametes. The development of female gametes. Now that we are talking about the female gametes, what are the female gametes known as? The female gametes are known as the ova. What are the male gametes known as? Sperms. What are the female gametes known as? Ova. So I talk about the two major functions. Number one, functions of the ovary. What will you write? Formation of the hormones, secretion of the hormones. That was the same with the male. And formation of the gametes. Now, apart from that, apart from the concept of formation of the gametes, what is? Apart from the formation of the gametes, here we now try understanding the functions of the estrogen and the progesterone. Let us go through this now. In case of the testosterone, what did we learn? What are the three functions of the testosterone? Wahi same function for the estrogen and progesterone also. I would write estrogen and progesterone very much necessary for the development. All of you will write down these points in your notebooks. Development of the female reproductive organs. Development of female reproductive organs. All the organs of the female reproductive organs will be developed only when the female body have adequate amount of estrogen, progesterone. Otherwise, that female will suffer from some sterility. So that is the first point. Second, development of the secondary sexual characteristics. Development of secondary sexual characteristics. So now, when I talk about the development of secondary sexual characteristics, if it is a male body, I said mustache hair, beard hair, Adam's apple hair. In case of the female body, what will it be? The widening up of the hip region, that's a major feature, scanty body hair, shrill voice, development of the mammary glands. So all these are the secondary sexual characteristics. When you are asked a question, what are secondary sexual characteristics? क्या लिखना है? Secondary sexual characteristics are the typical body characteristics of male and female. How we are able to distinguish a male body and a female body, उसको बोलेंगे secondary sexual characteristics. Number 3, formation of female gamete. Formation of female gamete. Female gamete क्या है? Ovum. Female gamete is the ovum. No talking. Formation of the female gamete, that is ovum. Okay, so these are the parts. Functions for the ovary, I said. Talk about the oviduct. Talk about oviduct. What is oviduct? Look at the figure and tell me oviduct is connecting which parts of the reproductive system? Oviduct is connecting the ovary to the uterus. Is it comparable with the vas difference? Vas difference connecting the testis to the urethra. Oviduct connecting ovary to the uterus. So now, where is the female gamete formed? Here. This female gamete will be carried here in the oviduct. So what is the function for the oviduct? You are supposed to write. Function for the oviduct is the passage of the ovum, that is one. And in the human female body, the oviduct is also the site of fertilization. Oviduct is also the site of fertilization. This is a very, very important concept to remember. Name the site of fertilization in a flower. What is the site of fertilization in the flower? Site of fertilization in the flower? Flower.
Flower is the stem.
Site of fertilization in a flower. आज ही हमने सीखा ये site of fertilization in a flower. हाँ? Right? Site of fertilization. What did we study? Double word. Ovule. Site of fertilization in a flower is the ovule, and site of fertilization in human. Oviduct. This is a very common question you get in your paper. Name the site of fertilization in a flower and in human. तो flower में हमेशा ovule है and human में हमेशा fallopian tube या तो oviduct है. So site of fertilization. Talk about the uterus. What is the function of the uterus? It helps in the development. It is a muscular bag-like structure. The uterus. देखो, this entire uterus is a triangular, a pear-shaped muscular organ. And this triangular pear-shaped muscular organ helps in the development of the embryo to form the fetus. Now, embryo, what is it? You know already. What is an embryo? What is an embryo? You know. What is an embryo? We had learned in the previous method also. Embryo is a multicellular structure. So, human body may be that multicellular structure will start giving rise to body parts and form an organism. तो उसको बोलेंगे fetus. Cervix and vagina, इनके functions लगभग same है. Cervix and vagina functions क्या है? They help in the passage of the male gamete, that is the sperm, into the female body. Male gamete into the female body. So इनके functions लगभग same है. But the vagina has got a special role. What is it? The vagina is also known as the birth canal. Vagina is also known as the birth canal because after the entire process of development of the fetus here, the fetus will be released out of the female body by this canal, by this passage known as the vagina. So functions of the parts of the female reproductive system, first of all. What is testes? What are the functions? Then next is when we are talking about the process of development. Now let us just get a fair idea about the development of the fetus. Development of fetus. Now what are some of the stages? Just few stages only we are talking about. Some few stages we are talking about. Let us come across some of the stages to understand. Let us look into this first. Some stages that we are going to understand first of all. So now we are looking into the female reproductive system. So first thing, we are aware about the parts. What are the parts of the female system? A pair of ovaries. What is the job of the ovary? The job of the ovary is to produce the gametes, produce the hormones. अब जब hormone है, what are the functions of the hormones? Responsible for the development of the entire reproductive system, secondary sexual characteristics, and also the gametes. But now I want to look into this entire ovary little bit in detail. So when I look into the entire ovary little bit in detail, I get to see that the entire inner lining of the ovary has got a large number of diploid cells, जहाँ पे हर एक cell has got 46 chromosomes. हर एक cell has 46 chromosomes. Now, out of these cells, only one cell at random will enter into the process of meiosis. Now, अब जब testis है, with reference to testis, if I compare, with reference to testis, if I understand, with reference to testis, I did not show you the section, that was not necessary. But just to compare, now that we understand that the male body has two testes, and male body के testis को भी अगर हमने section study किया होता, then the testis also has got an inner line of diploid cells इस तरह से. So what about the testis? वहाँ पे भी randomly एक cell divide होता है meiosis? No, all cells undergo meiosis at the same time. Testis में, if I talk about a section of the testis always we understand all cells undergo meiosis at the same time. Thus, at one particular time, the male body is producing millions of gametes. Millions of cells of the testis are undergoing meiosis. और हर एक cell, चार cell by meiosis. Meiosis, one cell produces 4 cells, right? So every cell is giving rise to 4 gametes. So if I understand a comparison, I want to understand what about the section of a testis? In the section of a testis also, are we not to understand that the section of the testis also will have 46 chromosome, every cell diploid? Yes, every cell diploid there also. But वहाँ पे, unlike the ovary में क्या हो रहा है? Only one cell at a random starts meiosis. यहाँ पे हर एक cell is undergoing meiosis. So from one cell, how many gametes? 1, 2, 3, 4. From this cell another 4, this cell another 4. तो हर एक cell से 4 gametes. That's the reason the number of gametes in the male body is much more than the number of gametes in the female body. Also, both the testes will produce gamete at the same time. In case of the female, does both the ovary produce gamete at the same time? No, alternate. For an example, alternate matlab in a cycle of 30 days roughly. So if I make it very simple to understand, if in the month of July this is producing gamete, in the month of August that will produce gamete. In the month of September, October, November, December, that is what happens with the female body. Alternately, only one ovary at a time, and that also only one cell at a time undergoes gamete formation. So if that happens, and this one cell undergoes gamete formation, yes, it is undergoing gamete formation and resulting in the formation of 4 cells. Meiosis, one cell will give rise to 4 cells. Yes, here also 4 cells. But out of the 4 cells, if I talk about, again now a difference to understand. Again, one more difference to understand. What is the other difference? The other difference is, now that we are talking about a cell of the testes, this is a cell of the testes. Chromosome kitne hai? 46. What will happen? This will give rise to 4 cells. 1, 2, 3, 4. And all of them have got the same number of chromosomes, 23. One cell of testis giving rise to 4 cells known as gametes. So what are these gametes known as? Sperms. One cell of testis, 4 sperms at a time. Is it not the same when I talk about the cell of the ovary? No, that is not the same. I understand this is the cell of the ovary. वही 46 chromosome है, but this is a cell of the ovary. If it is meiosis, should not it produce 4 cells? Yes, it will produce 4 cells, but one cell will have the maximum amount of cytoplasm. The rest, all of them will have 23 chromosome. Gametes may be 23, male, female gametes may be सारे में 23. But difference क्या है? Difference is if it is the male cells, testes, all the 4 gametes have the same amount of nucleus, same amount of cytoplasm. यहाँ पे cytoplasm same amount है. एक particular cell में cytoplasm is too much. And that cell is the functional gamete and इसको बोलेंगे ova. Then what about these 3 cells? These 3 cells with a small amount of cytoplasm but same chromosome number, उसको क्या बोलेंगे? That is known as polar bodies. Clear है? This concept that I told you just now, that's the difference between the testes and the ovary, always to know. What are the 2 main differences I told you? Testes, both the testes undergo division at the same time. True or false? True. Both the ovaries undergo division at the same time to form gametes. No, alternately. Again, all the cells of the testes undergo division to form gametes. Yes. Only one cell of the ovary at a time undergo division form gametes. Then this will result in the formation of a biggest follicle in the cell known as the Graafian follicle. And then the ovum, that is the mature gamete, will be released out. The mature gamete now released out. So now this big follicle inside the ovary, the ovum was getting formed. A particular cover, casing, or particular follicle may develop हो रहा था. This particular follicle is containing the female gamete. Once fully developed, the female gamete releases from the ovary. What is this process of releasing of the ovum from the ovary known as ovulation? What is ovulation? The process of release of the ovum from the ovary. So if this is ovulation, then after the release of the ovum, where will the ovum enter? The ovum will definitely enter into the fallopian tube. Because this fallopian tube and the ovary, they are very closely associated. A funnel-like structure, the ovary here. And there are fine, those cilia-like structures all over the inner lining. So the ovum will never get lost. So the ovum from here enters here. And this ovum will remain active only for a short period of time. How long? At the most for 1 to 2 days, this ovum is active, alive, functioning. So this male and the female gametes both, earlier I had drawn the male gamete also. The male gamete also has got a span of 2 days, 3 days. And the female gamete even lesser. This female gamete will have a span of just 1 to 2 days. But during this time when the ovulation has happened and the female gamete is in the fallopian tube, and by this time if the male gamete has entered the female body and one of the male gamete has made its contact with the ovum, then a process known as fertilization has happened. How is the definition of fertilization? Always to be written, fusion of a male gamete with a female gamete. Fusion of a male gamete with a female gamete to form what? A single cell structure. And this single cell structure is always a diploid cell. What is this single cell structure known as? Zygote. This zygote will immediately undergo cell division, resulting in the formation of an embryo. What is the difference between the zygote and the embryo? The difference between the zygote and the embryo is a multicellular structure. The embryo is a multicellular structure. Zygote is a single cell just after fertilization. But this embryo, repeatedly the number of cells increasing. But I said that if this is the ovum and now that I under fertilization is just the male gamete and the ovum actually. But if that is also true, then which part of the male gamete is contributed in the entire process of fertilization? It is only the nucleus which has entered. The rest of the body is nothing. Rest of the body not entering. So after the nucleus enters, the sperm is detached from the male gamete. So I would say that zygote, or is it the ovum only which is getting transformed to zygote? Is it the ovum which is getting transformed to zygote? Yes. It is the ovum only which came in contact with the sperm, and during fertilization the sperm has given only the nucleus, and now it has got a diploid nucleus. तो cell body तो same ही है ना, वो ओवम फर्टिलाइजेशन के बाद जाइगोट बन जाता है. So that is why in the female body one of the cell will always have maximum amount of cytoplasm, क्योंकि fertilization के बाद it should have adequate nutrients, क्योंकि cell division को support करना. So that is the reason in the male body, see male body में fertilization नहीं हो रहा है, so that's the reason all male gametes same amount of cytoplasm. ये female body में नहीं हो रहा है. फीमेल बॉडी में 3 छोटे-छोटे गैमेट्स एंड एक गैमेट में मैक्सिमम कंसंट्रेशन ऑफ साइटोप्लाज्म. साइटोप्लाज्म मतलब रिजर्व फूड. तो वो फूड कब काम आने वाला है? इफ द ओवम हैज अंडरगॉन फर्टिलाइजेशन. अब जब फर्टिलाइजेशन हो गया, नाउ यहाँ पे जो साइटोप्लाज्म में जो रिजर्व फूड है, दैट इज गोइंग टू हेल्प इन द प्रोसेस ऑफ सेल डिवीजन एंड फॉर्मेशन ऑफ द एम्ब्रियो. You get questions, why is the ovum with a maximum concentrate of cytoplasm? Ovum में इतना सारा cytoplasm concentrated क्यों है? Why in the female body all the gametes does not have the same amount of cytoplasm? No, in the female body only one cell will have the maximum concentrate of cytoplasm, because that cell with the maximum amount of cytoplasm known as the ovum is the potential gamete जो fertilization carry on karega. And after fertilization that reserve food will be utilized in the process of embryo formation. But kab tak? Only by the time the embryo is 8 to 16 cells. तो जब तक ये embryo is having almost 16 cells, मतलब हर बार cell double हो रहा है, 2 and then 4 and then 8 and then 16 and then 32, बार-बार cell double हो रहा है. So now that the cells are getting double, and by the time it is 16, 32 cells, what will happen? This embryo will make its attachment with the uterine wall. This will make its attachment with the uterine wall. What is this process known as? This process is known as implantation. What is implantation? The attachment of the developing embryo in the uterine wall. Attachment of the developing embryo in the uterine wall. इसका क्या जरूरत है? इस प्रोसेस का जरूरत क्यों है? The developing embryo में अभी न्यूट्रिशन खत्म हो रहा है. जो भी न्यूट्रिशन था अभी ये खत्म हो रहा है. Now if it does not make its contact with the female body, this will die out. So fertilization के लगभग 10 to 12 days के अंदर implantation हो जाना चाहिए. अब जब implantation हो गया, now next is what? This entire outer covering of the embryo. This embryo will now almost take a shape, something different, and then body organs are in the process of getting formed. And this embryo is not just a ball of cells, but it is now forming some external cover and some finger-like projections. इस तरह से बन रहा है. Where surrounding, again it will be covered by the blood vessels of the female body. So now that this embryo has been formed and it has made a connection with the female body, immediately some outer covering बनने लग जाता है, and then the outer covering will start forming this type of finger-like projections, and this finger-like projections now that attaches the embryo with the uterine wall. This disc-like structure is known as placenta. This disc-like structure is known as the placenta. तो ये जो placenta बना है, this placenta is actually allowing various different functions of the fetus. Placenta has got multiple roles, but what is the placenta first of all made up of? How would the placenta progressively develop? So I said, इस तरह से embedding हो जाता है, इस तरह से the embryo will get attached to the uterine wall. After it has got attached to the uterine wall, a structure something like this, if you try observing, a structure something like this, the entire wall will start giving rise to some finger-like projections, and these finger-like projections will form a network with the blood vessels of the uterus. तो एक disc जैसे structure बन जाता है, and this disc-like structure is known as the placenta. यहाँ से tissues are all connected to the fetus's body. So what is the placenta actually helping this developing embryo for? Supplying the nutrients, carrying the waste away, providing all the minerals and the vitamins and the antibody substance from the mother's body, exchange of gases, oxygen, carbon dioxide. So ये सारे processes the placenta is doing. In fact, the placenta also has a role to release even more progesterone and estrogen also during this period. So this placenta, this entire disc-like structure जो बनता है यहाँ पे, this entire disc-like structure has got three major functions. What will you write in your paper is functions of the placenta. ये functions लिखना है. The major functions of the placenta, that is, we talk about functions of the placenta. It acts as a respiratory organ. Why is it acting as a respiratory organ? What will you write? Why is it acting as a respiratory organ? Because it helps in the exchange of gases. Exchange of gases. Oxygen from the mother's body will enter the fetus, and carbon dioxide from the fetal tissues will come back to the maternal blood. So oxygen कहाँ से कहाँ travel हो रहा है? Oxygen is from the maternal blood to the fetus. Carbon dioxide यहाँ से यहाँ. क्यों पर? Because it is not in direct contact with the external environment yet. Second, the placenta also acts as a excretory organ. Acts as an excretory organ. क्यों? Because the placenta, now that this placenta also acts as an excretory organ. क्यों? Because this fetus जो developing embryo से बना है, it has now started developing its arms, the heart, the eyes, the systems of the body धीरे-धीरे बन रहा है. So definitely it will be releasing the wastes also now. But where will it release the urea especially, uric acid especially? अब इसका तो liver भी बन गया, major organs भी बन रहा है by the 5th week, by the 10th week. No, by the 3rd month, 4th month, now the organs have all started forming. Then where will it release its waste? Again, it is not in direct contact with the external environment. So whatever waste, all will be now released into the maternal blood by the way of the placenta. Now when I say by the way of the placenta, is placenta a tube that it will carry the waste? No, all the waste are in the form of ions and liquid. The urea will just diffuse from the fetus's body to the maternal blood. It is not releasing any solid waste from its body yet. कोई solid waste release नहीं हो रहा है because this is only receiving nourishment by the way of the blood. Till birth, it is only receiving तो solid waste body में form होने का सवाल ही नहीं है. So it is releasing all its waste, urea, uric acid, ammonia, etc., सब by the way of the blood into the maternal blood. So excretory organ, and the third function that you write is it also helps in supplying nutrients. It also helps in supplying nutrients and vitamins and antibodies to the fetus. Antibodies to the fetus. So these are the functions that we'll have to write down. Excretory organ, supplying nourishment, vitamins, antibodies, etc., and the respiratory organ. Now this will go on for a period of time. How long does this entire process of development of the embryo to the fetus take place? ये जो पूरा process है, this will take place in 40 weeks, roughly about 9 months. So the entire process of development of the fetus to form fully developed with all the body organ systems, 9 months. Then after the process, a typical hormone has to be released so that it can be released out of the female body. Which is that hormone which will bring about uterine contraction and childbirth? No. Which hormone brings about the release now that the process of development is over? Which hormone will bring about uterine contractions? Which hormone will bring about uterine contractions and childbirth? Nobody has studied. Which hormone will bring about uterine contraction and childbirth? Oxytocin. Oxytocin पढ़ा कि नहीं पढ़ा? Yes or no? नहीं? Endocrine gland देखो. Hormones of the pituitary check करो. Hormones of pituitary check करो. No?
Co-ordination में नहीं है.
कंट्रोल कोऑर्डिनेशन में पिट्यूटरी हार्मोन्स में ऑक्सीटोसिन नहीं है. चेक करो वो टेबल चेक करो. वॉल्यूम का टेबल चेक करो. हाँ तो वॉल्यूम 1 में देखो इट इज मेंशन. हाँ तो वॉल्यूम 1 में देखना इट इज मेंशन. If you have your class notes there also you will check. There also you will see. Look into the hormones of the pituitary gland. What did you write? Hormones of the pituitary gland में कौन-कौन से hormones लिखा है? Growth hormone, then trophic hormone लिखा है कि नहीं? Prolactin, ADH, oxytocin. Pituitary hormone लिखा है oxytocin. आप अभी don't write the class notes also, no, that's the problem. Go home, check properly. So now this hormone oxytocin now that the process of development, go home, check करना बाद में. It is there. In the volume check करो. The table for the pituitary gland, oxytocin is a hormone that we have studied. So now that we are talking about that the fetus development is over, then what will happen? Oxytocin. Once the development is over, oxytocin from the pituitary will be released in the blood. This hormone, the moment it is released, do you remember? This hormone, the moment it is released in the blood in large amount, the uterus will start contracting. क्योंकि ये जो period में, what has happened to the uterine wall? It has taken a bulge. The uterus has taken a bulge in this period. So now this oxytocin will bring about the contraction of the uterus and allowing the development of the release of the fully developed fetus. By which passage? The vagina. Hence it is known as the vaginal passage, also the birth canal. This is one that we have studied, that if the ovum is fertilized, but zaruri hai every time ovum will get fertilized? Zaruri hai every month, now that the female body produces the gamete, every month one gamete is formed. Every month one gamete is formed. This gamete is in the fallopian tube. Zaruri hai every time it fertilizes? No. In the entire reproductive age of a female, right, starting from that 10, 12 years, till that 45 years of age, almost that 30 years of reproductive age में, the female body will go for reproduction or fertilization only 3 to 4 times on an average. 3 to 4 times. So in all these 35 years of her life, what has happened? This female gamete most of the time did not fertilize. So what has happened? The moment ovulation has happened, take a note. Moment ovulation takes place, one change that takes place is the uterine wall becomes very, very thick. अब ये ovulation होने के बाद ही the body prepares for implantation. The body is not waiting कि embryo बनेगा and then no. So by the time ovulation happens, the uterine lining becomes thick with large number of blood vessels, But इस बार क्या हुआ? The ovum got absolutely developed, fertilization नहीं हुआ, so the ovum is all getting disintegrated. Fertilization होगा all throughout the lifespan 3 से 4 बार, उससे ज्यादा नहीं. So maximum number of times क्या हो रहा है? The moment there is ovulation, uterus becoming thick, so much of blood vessels developed, but now did not fertilize, disintegrate हो गया. If this is disintegrated, then this uterine wall which was becoming thicker, preparing for implantation, ये भी disintegrate हो जाएगा. Disintegrate हो जाएगा, and all these waste substances, the release of the blood, the mucus, the dead cells, all released out of the vaginal passage known as menstruation. So two concepts we studied. अगर ovum fertilized होगा तो क्या हो रहा है? Then the fetus. Ovum fertilized नहीं हो रहा. We'll just take 10 minutes more. We are done. I don't want you to hold on again for next Monday. Okay. So now, when we are talking about this, what I say, that if no fertilization, then this part. यहाँ पे कुछ concept doubtful है. So these two methods you will have to study. Majorly, you are asked questions on this part. So textbook में पढ़ो, volume में पढ़ो. After that, जो doubtful है, doubt solving session में पूछो. This is done. Now that we are aware about the process of fertilization, अभी next ये देखना है. Fertilization में मतलब entry of male gamete into the female body. Entry of male gamete into the female body, ये जो process है, during this process, can the male or the female body suffer from additional infections? Yes, variety of them. ये जो process of entry of the male gamete into the female body, during this process, the male and the female body both can suffer from various different types of infections. उसको क्या बोलेंगे? STDs. What are STDs? Sexually transmitted diseases. The answer is what? Now, sexually transmitted diseases. So, what are sexually transmitted diseases? Various different type of bacterial, viral diseases which can happen during the process of exchange of the male-female gametes. दो ही तरह के examples पढ़ने हैं. One is the bacterial infection. Which are the bacterial infection? एक है gonorrhea. एक है gonorrhea. दूसरा है syphilis. Gonorrhea, syphilis. Example याद रखना है. You are asked in the exam 1 mark, 2 marks. Name some bacterial infections. Gonorrhea, syphilis. Now gonorrhea, syphilis में symptoms क्या है? How would the person know that the person has suffered from some infection? Painful urination in the entire urinary passage of the male body, female body. There may be pus formation, bleeding may happen, and there may be various other complications. But still, bacterial infections are nothing so serious in the body, can be easily tackled with antibiotics. Very difficult is the viral infections. Difficult are the viral infections. Which are the ones? Number one, AIDS. Full form क्या है? AIDS का full form क्या है? पता है? This you are asked. Book में भी देखना. AIDS का full form है acquired ये लिख के रखो. Acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. This is a major infection people suffer from during the process of exchange of gametes. This is a major infection people suffer from. AIDS. But AIDS कैसे होता है? By the entry of a virus जिसको HIV बोला जाता है. What is HIV? Human immunodeficiency virus. Human immunodeficiency virus. Clear है? So during the exchange of gametes, if the body has got, the male body has got from the female body has got from the male, this virus HIV, then the person's immunity, what is the problem that HIV causes in the body? WBC is killed in large numbers. Once the HIV has entered the male or the female body, the problem that is happening is WBCs are killed in massive numbers and the person now suffering from extreme low immunity. So this person who is suffering from AIDS will have various different type of infection one after the other. Urinary infection to hoga hi. Apart from that, skin infection, eye infection, throat infection, stomach infection, one after the other. So you are coming to this class? Another 10 minutes. After 10 minutes only you can come. Now, when we are talking about this, I said that if a person suffers from AIDS, the person will be having reduced immunity, which will make this person prone to any type of germs, any type of infection, and it is at a very, very high risk now the person is. One more is there. ये तो पढ़ना ही है AIDS, and there is one more, genital warts. Write 2 viral infections क्या लिखोगे? Genital warts and AIDS. Write 2 bacterial infections क्या लिखना है? Gonorrhea and syphilis. So इसको अभी prevent कैसे किया जाए? When we are talking about the prevention, to understand how to prevent this during the exchange of gametes, certain contraceptives to use. Contraceptive methods. What are contraceptive methods? Contraceptive methods are typical methods practiced to not allow germs enter the body or also at times prevent fertilization. Number 1, we talk about the mechanical method. What is mechanical method meaning? Use of some extra additional substances, structures in the male-female reproductive system. Examples would be diaphragm. Words याद रखना है to write in the exam. Diaphragm है, cervical caps है, or condoms है. Now these are various different type of fine membranous structures which can be used in the male-female system. But इसका advantage क्या है? Advantage is by using, the person will very much be prevented from STDs. Also prevent fertilization. If a person not very much prepared for the process of fertilization, then yes, the person can go for these methods. Medical help required? No. Is there any disadvantage? Minor infections can very much happen. Second, chemical methods. When I talk about chemical methods, what are these? Examples: use of variety of oral pills, majorly for females. Majorly for females. Advantage क्या है? Advantage only can prevent fertilization. Only can prevent fertilization. Can this method, chemical method, give assurance about STDs? No. STD का कोई assurance नहीं है. Even if a female is consuming oral pills every month, every week, the female can very much be infected by any of these diseases. So does not give any prevention for STDs, but fertilization, yes. How? By stopping the method of ovulation. When a female is constantly consuming oral pills, ovulation body में बंद हो जाता है धीरे धीरे. Ovulation is stopped. So if ovulation is stopped, what will happen? Maybe after 5 years, this female wants to give birth. No, she will not be able to do that. क्योंकि ये ovulation लगातार बंद होते होते hormonal imbalance हो गया है body में hormonal imbalance हो गया है, and this cannot be retrieved so easily. So out of this method, these two, which one you feel is a better method? This one. This is a better method. This is a very risky method actually. The third and the last one, we talk about the permanent methods known as the surgical methods. Which are the surgical methods of contraception if it is in the male body? What is it known as? In the male body, it is known as the vasectomy. Remember these words? Vasectomy. Vasectomy from the word vas difference. Okay. Female body, what is it? Female body is known as tubectomy. Tubectomy from the word oviduct or fallopian tube. Let us just see these last two. The last two concepts there. Surgical method. I'm saying what is surgical method? Surgical method is when we are talking about tubectomy. Tubectomy in the male or the female? Tubectomy is in the female body. See there? When we are talking about the tubectomy, the concept of tubectomy and vasectomy. Vasectomy and tubectomy, two specific processes which can happen in the male and the female body. Now, talking about the concept of tubectomy. See here, if it is vasectomy, what is happening? Vas difference can be permanently cut. So whatever gametes formed here will never come out of the male body. So definitely this male cannot participate in the process of fertilization. It's a temporary or a permanent method? Permanent it is. For the other side, this is vasectomy, vas difference. What about this side? Tubectomy. Which part is cut? The oviduct or the fallopian tube. Is the ovary producing gamete? Yes. But this gamete and the sperm can never meet because यहाँ पे passage को discontinue कर दिया गया है. So this gamete will never come in contact even if the male gamete has entered. Male gamete and female gamete can never come together. इस body में fertilization हो सकता है? No. Underline करके रखो. Tubectomy, vasectomy अच्छी तरह से पढ़ना है. This you get specific questions in which part of the body, male, female difference. This is what is asked. So this last part of the chapter, read properly. Now we are done with the portion. ये थोड़ा सा portion बचा था, so I did not want you to again take a lecture on Monday, so you can continue with your maths portion. Little bit is left, so finish that up also. So we are winding up with the portion. This chapter is done. Read. अभी पढ़ो. Doubt solving है. Anything that is there. Question answers when you go through in the volume. If certain questions are there, you are not able to answer. Mark. Doubt solving में पूछो. Major doubt है. Inform the coordinator if required. We can sit for another 1 hour in any of those days when everybody is there. Okay? So पहली बात अभी पढ़ो chapter. Question solve करने की कोशिश करो. जो वॉल्यूम में है. जहाँ पे अगर डाउट लगा, कुछ मेजर डाउट है, बिल्कुल नहीं समझ में आ रहा है, then you all decide together. Maybe we can sit for an hour and discuss with some doubts. So next Monday onwards, there will be no bio lecture. We are done, and go ahead as I told you. Okay, पढ़ना chapter.
Goes to like the pronunciation.
उसने एक ही बात बोला, but